Why? Because under those religions, two things is served very well. In those religions of the past, there is room always for the individuals to exploit others in the form of the spiritual figure, spiritual leaders. And the other thing is that they, under those religions, they like to push their women down. The entire movement of the religious movement in the West right now is, all of it is to tame and suppress women. Because they can't keep their family unity under the oneness and their democracy, so-called, they have. They don't know what to do. So they like to go take a reactionist way by going back to these religions of the past, especially Islam, more prominently. So they don't like to give up. And every day, even they're using the Hollywoods. Just imagine how many movies Catholic Church has been sponsoring and making to get people totally dumbfounded by unrealistic matter such as ghosts and evil and genies and exorcism and vampires, creating fear of nothing in people so people can go back towards the religion and towards those so-called priests and figures. And all these churches in the West, you can clearly see that they're nothing but sheer business of making money from people. The widows are dying. The old people are dying. They've learned to separate them. Hollywood have learned to separate them, families, from each other. Because as an individual, he can rule them better. And religious people, to come and fix this, they've taken advantage of the situations. And so these people, instead of giving their houses to their children or whatever, most of them, they go towards these churches. They're getting donated, and such a fierce competition is going on there. So the whole trend is this right now in the spiritual obstacles is to feed us with what we used to look at it as a food some 2,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, 5,000 years ago even, to have those things for the nourishment of the soul. Well, just imagine, to understand this in a tangible way. You get a 50-year-old man and tell him that you have to learn how to read and write, and tell him the stories that are so used for the children of grade 1 and grade 2. Sure, he doesn't know how to read and write, but the subject has to fit his age and understanding. But the teacher says no, he has to go through grade 1 and grade 2 and so on and so forth. That becomes very, very, awkward in a way. That the spiritual understanding of Romans about life, that has to be ruling a man in 20th century. So clearly this is very close to being sick, psychologically sickness. A psychological sickness is involved. It's like to say that to the Prime Minister of a country, to a leader of the country, to the Queen, that you were our Queen when you were 25 years old. And we just take that picture on the wall, and we like you when you were 25. Now you're 80, we don't like you. You're not our Queen, we don't understand this, we don't want it. Is it possible to say that? No. But when you go towards a religion that's 2,000, 5,000 years old, that's what you're saying, that's what you're practicing. As an Indian, when you have so many gods and goddesses, even in your own home, and they're to argue that these are the manifestation of God. Well, how stupid it is that we worship God and we understand God, by his earliest creature. We just appreciate God, tell him, thank you, God. You're such a great God, because we're looking at diamond and gold and mountains and the rivers and that. But we don't like to look at the plant and animals that he has created and man. We say, now, those things are no good. We don't understand. We just like to say you're God because you have created all this material. So, of course, it's awkward. So, number 6 is number 6. I think is the scientists of the world, the knowledgeable people, the philosophers, those who know what's going on. They're not paying attention to this issue. Not enough. That bring people up to have some kind of a universal education, a movement, because they are responsible to do this. Not from what we see in a lot larger way. That how this unity of the planet universally helps us both economically and socially, but so as spiritually. It's a sign of an understanding. It's an acknowledgement that we have grown enough, that our sheer number on the planet and the gadgets that we have made, it made us close enough that without having a universal government, it's surely creating an anarchy. And as it is, so there are so many dictators all over the world killing people and depriving them from their rights. This part is owed to the scientists and the knowledgeable people in the world, that they unite against this tyranny and transgression and take responsibility in teaching people and bringing them up, whether they're in the university to tell the students, whether they're at their corporations. At any level, they have to take measures towards this understanding of people coming together. So, let's see. So I would say this is another reason that our knowledgeable people, our scientists, our leaders, that there's no work on their behalf to get these things going. Another one, I should say, is that to me it is a very big one, is the lack of the equality between the man and the women in the world. We still have not understood this, that men and women are completely 100% different, but they're equal. The difference that a man in North America has with the Chinese or Japanese, in this case I'm talking about male in Canada, of white Anglo-Saxons, and his differences from a Chinese, from a Japanese, or an Indian, is way more than his differences between him and his wife. So people are different, there's no doubt, male and females. But these differences should not be the cause of the inequality in the planet towards this female gender. We are just coming up in Canada and other places in an awkward way. In Canada, for example, when they are going over, board, they're defining, for example, it seems the emotion of a man towards his children less than his counterpart female. Clearly. So there's a lot of laws and I want to be discussing these things later on in the third book, that in Canada I've noticed the way they're trying to legislate laws in understanding they think that this has to come up, again in an awkward way, they're giving more right to the women, acknowledging that they're weak, acknowledging that they're not worth it, and they do not call them exactly equal to a man in the right. When we're talking about equality, we have to be clear. There's no male and female attributes, qualities, they're all the same. Kind people are coming in male and female. So as the other area. Once upon a time, the muscle of the progress, this economical progress, was the muscle of the arm. Today is the muscle of mind. In that case, women could be simply better even, if not equal. So we should get rid of these, the man and women, which side is bigger or lower. Whenever you want to think about that which area women are better than man or men are better than man, immediately try to compare a man with another man from the other side of the world. Or for that matter, a woman from this side of the world to the other. You'll see the difference between the women of the world and the men of the world are much more than actually between the men and women of the same groups. So we should not go either way. Equality has to be conferred upon humanity, man and women, the same. For that matter, even the age is being discriminated. To me, politicians of age 25 and 30 is actually much better than politicians of 80 years. He may not have those experiences, but this young man is more honest and is more power, and I think he sticks to his job more seriously. So to understand the equality of men and women in the world that has not been understood, especially by Muslims of the world, to a large extent, and then by the whatever Africans or Chinese, has been a big obstacles towards the understanding this spiritual unity and the necessity of it to bring the happiness in the planet. So another one of them, I think, would be number probably 8, is lack of understanding of the people about the Baha'i faith. Baha'i faith is the biggest, by far, incomparable to any ideology, to any theory, to any movement that has ever been witnessed by humanity in the planet Earth. During 113 years, starting from the Bab and then Baha'ullah, Abdul Baha and Shoghi Effendi, close to 500 books have been revealed of divine source. This is the hugest TOE, theory of everything, if you want to know. And why is it lacking? I have to say, in most part, the so-called Baha'is or the followers of Baha'u'llah are responsible for it. Because there's no way to even understand who is the follower.